Cool.
So how's everybody doing today?
Tired.
So I am Cassia Celeste, or Skitch Cosplay. A little bit about myself. So I've been cosplaying now since about 2006. I professionally started when I was 2010. That was right after Dragon Con that year. I'm originally from New Orleans. I'm active duty, so that's why I'm actually here in California, and I love the cosplay community out here a lot better than the other coast. Like I said, I'm active duty, been in for 8 years. I am an openly transgender sailor, which is, for those of y'all that have been probably reading the papers, it's kind of a big deal. I am the first male to female to go through the program for the Southwest region of the United States for the Navy. I actually helped write the program, so I know probably more about it than most people do. Let's see, what else? When it comes to cosplay, I use certain characters specifically. I came out 3 years ago through cosplay, 3 or 4 years through cosplay, because it makes it a lot easier. I created my own original character first, because at the time, being trans, you don't really identify two characters. So you kind of, I'm one of those, I create my own. Creating your own allows you to get to a point where you're comfortable in your own skin. I later on went from, if you come by my table, I have a couple of photos of it. Later went from that to doing my own version of Harley Quinn, which was another head-to-toe character, because I'm all about covering myself completely, because I'm very much ashamed. Has nothing to do with this one. This one I'm only doing it because people actually like this character. But I was very ashamed of my body from head to toe because it didn't look like how I wanted it. So I wore a wig, I wore the clown makeup, I wore the corsets, I wore the leggings, I wore the long sleeve shirts, I wore the black gloves. I was covered from head to toe. The character looked beautiful, but I was covered from head to toe. So that's a little bit of my background. Obviously we'll go through more as we further through this. I need to put my glasses on so I can actually see the time. Don't make fun of me. I know that Fate Zero characters don't wear glasses, but I am going to. I just need to make sure I keep track of my time because I'm not one of those people that runs over time. So for those of y'all that did not read what this is actually about, I'm hoping that you're here because you actually read what this is about, right? So it's called Incognito, the Dark Art of Hiding in Plain Sight. Hiding in plain sight from a standpoint of people that are not necessarily trans, but I do speak more from the trans perspective. But not everybody that's trans has this issue. Some people that aren't have this issue too. Being incognito, so does anybody know what the meaning of incognito is? Oh, come on in. Does anybody know what the meaning of incognito is? As an idea? It's a disguise, right? When you're incognito, you blend. You blend in with the surroundings. When you're incognito, you're not you, you are something else. You're perceiving on the outer perspective of things to blend with your surroundings. So in a way, you're kind of wearing a mask, right? You wear a mask. I always tell people, it's really funny how for trans individuals, how you would go from it's hard to be yourself, and it takes you putting on a costume, which is a mask, to be yourself. A lot of people are that way in just normal life, unfortunately. So that's what incognito is. It's wearing a disguise. You're blending in with your surroundings. You're trying to be the in crowd, right? You're trying to make sure that you match whatever's around you. You don't want people to see who you really are. Well, why is that? Well, most times that people do this is because you're scared. People are afraid. You don't want people to know who you are. And for probably a million different reasons, you don't want people to know who you are. I can tell you from my perspective, there's a lot of reasons why I didn't want people to know who I was. My story is not exactly a happy one all the time. It's sad, you know? And it sucks being down when you're talking and you're discussing who you are, and you go from happy up here and then you're like really, really sad. And it's uncomfortable. Nobody in here, I'm pretty sure, wants to be sad or uncomfortable, right? Being sad and uncomfortable sucks, right? So we do what? We deflect. We do what we have to adapt, to be able to be with the in crowd and people around you. That's what we do. That is a normal thing. I always tell people, 9 times out of 10, the person that you conversate with, you're going to only know maybe a small percentage of who they really are. The rest of it is BS. Because nobody really wants to let you know who they really are. It's extremely hard to be yourself. It's extremely hard to be real and authentic and original. It's also a lot of work to be authentic, original in yourself, especially in normal society. So that's kind of what we're going to go through today. We're going to talk, I'll give you kind of a background of my life story a little bit. You get to learn a little bit about how I had come through everything and to where I am now. We're going to have a transgender education portion, which is a good part of this because I feel that is something that a lot of people don't understand. And in the cosplay community, whether people like it or not, there's a huge LGBT representation in this community, which I love. Because in this community, you can be gender bending a character, you can crossplay, you can do whatever you want. You could be a fat, hairy man and dress up as Wolverine and turn around the next day and be the same guy that dresses up as Wonder Woman. You know, and I love that. You know, we are in a very, sometimes non-judgmental environment, even though people do judge you in this environment. I'll be judging later, but that's a whole different thing. That's if somebody caught the joke. That was cool. So, see where I was going to go with this. So, trans, what is trans? All right, anybody know what the word trans means? 5 little letters, T-R-A-N-S. Anybody?
Transformation.
Transformation? Not necessarily. You're close. So so everybody hears the terms trans and cis, right? You've heard those before. Cis, so if you talk about gender, right? So cisgender, you are born as that gender, you identify as that gender. Transgender, born as something else, and then you eventually transform into something else. What trans really means is non-conformity. Trans means non-conformity to the norm. Norm being anything that's cisgender. Under trans does not necessarily always mean transgender. Trans is an umbrella term. Drag queens are trans. Transvestites, obviously, are trans. Transgenders. Oh God, there's a slew of them. People that are asexual, bisexual, bigender, pansexual, they all fall under trans. It's a huge umbrella term. So when somebody says that they're trans, it does not necessarily automatically mean that they're transgender. I'm going to tell you probably 9 times out of 10 that yes, they are, but that's probably not what they're actually trying to tell you. They're just saying that they're non-conforming and they're not cis. That's what they mean when they say I'm trans. Me, when I tell people, I'm very direct. I say I'm transgender, I'm a trans female. I'm very direct, I'll let you know. I used to be a boy, sort of, and then became a girl. For me, I was born intersex. So intersex being I was born XXY chromosome. I was a girl in my mom's womb up until the 3rd trimester, finally got my male chromosome, and then I was born a boy. In some ways, a lot of my body is still very female, some of my body is very much male. And I'm working on that. Trying to work on that. We're getting there. Just wait until tomorrow when I cosplay my other character. Anybody here watch Street Fighter, play Street Fighter? Know a lot about Street Fighter?
I know about it.
Okay. I'm dressing up as Roxy tomorrow. Or not Roxy, Poison, the other one. And for anybody that doesn't know, Poison is a transgender Street Fighter character. Ooh. And I always laugh because girls that will cosplay as Poison, cosplay based on face value. They don't know that she's a trans female. So, tomorrow I'm going to be wearing a crop top, booty shorts, red heels, and a long wig. Yes. So, you won't be able to miss me. And if you do, it's probably a blessing. Because I have an issue with showing my skin. Alright. I had an issue showing my skin, so like I was mentioning, I wore cosplays that cover up my body, okay? I've gotten to the point, and it has a lot to do with my partner, who would be here today, but she's actually accepting a $2,500 award today. My girlfriend is bigender, and she's in a doctorate program to become a doctor, basically, for purposes of supporting transgender individuals in the trans community. So she's working on all those things. She just got a scholarship today. She just got accepted to the Clinton Foundation, which is a huge deal for those that don't know. That's supported by Bill Clinton and his wife Hillary. It's their big thing up in Chicago, which I can't wait to go, because I love Bill. Just saying. He can call me Monica. But anyways, he looks like he's seen better days anyway. But no, so she's the reason why I've been able to be more comfortable with my body and be able to do other characters, and she's been able to let me know that I am beautiful, I am who I am, and that's it. The fact that I was raised a certain way doesn't have any premonition or anything on how I am as a person. I can do whatever I want. I do have a 3-year-old son, and in my son's life, I see my position as the act of which he was made. I fathered a child and his dad. Doesn't matter how much of a girl I look like, I'm always going to be dad. Because he sees me now, even when I'm dressed. He woke up one night from a nap, he saw me, he hadn't seen me in 6 months, and he woke up, eyes big as hell, said, "Daddy," screamed, got up, gave me a big old hug. I'm always going to be daddy. No matter how big my boobs get or how feminine I look, I'm always going to be daddy. It was really funny because he buried his face in them last time. That was cute. So anyways, I know I'm detouring off of what we were talking about. So anyways, like I said, so that's trans though. Trans is when you don't conform to the norm, okay? The pronouns, don't get me wrong, I'm a trans female and I still screw up friends' pronouns that are transitioning. It's hard. Like if I wasn't like this and I was dressed another way, got to the point now that if you do call me a guy, I'm gonna kick you in the face. Because, just saying, they're here, they're there. I doubt dudes have boobs these big. But a lot of people go with face value, so they go with the fact that I have a strong chin still, which I'll eventually handle. I don't have an Adam's apple, never had one, so never had one, so that's a blessing. But they go based on the fact that my voice is very deep. I have a deep resonance to my voice. This is actually higher than how deep my voice normally is, if that gives you any idea. It's very funny. Quick story for that. You'll actually like this. So San Diego Comic-Con, I was dressed as a neko, so a cat person. I was wearing a black bodysuit, transgender colored wig down to my butt, the whole night. It shows my curves. And I was wearing a corset. Got hit on by a black guy in downtown somewhere, but he thought it would be a great idea to just come up and grab my butt. At which point, turn around, and it was really funny because I was talking to my girl just like I'm talking like this, and I turned around and I dropped my voice all the way back down. If he could have turned red, he would have. And then he got very upset. It was really funny for me. But his buddy tried to take him away because he was trying to fight me after that. It was kind of funny. But yeah, when you turn and you grab my butt, are there anybody in here that I have to worry about swearing with? Good. I won't swear too much. I'm a sailor, so I do swear like one. But I basically just turned, I was like, "Yo, bro, what the fuck?" And he's like, and like I said, that's a lot lower than what my normal voice is. But yeah, when you drop down and he freaked out. It was really good. So yeah, I like doing that. I like getting a good laugh out of people. Because I like to get you up here where you're actually happy. I don't want this to be something where you walk out and you're going to be crying, you're going to be emotional. I don't want you to do that. Although there will be probably those moments. Because if I was to really tell you my full life story, I would be crying up here. It's sad, okay? You know, like for instance, the week before the tweets came out, I just re-enlisted for 6 years. Nothing worse than re-enlisting for 6 years and thinking that you're not going to have a job the next day, right? I'm a big advocate for the fact that military should always be able to, you know, it doesn't matter what your gender is. If you are stable, clinically stable, by the way, being transgender is not a mental instability, it's just a way of being, right? It's no different than somebody being bisexual, bigender, whatever they want to be. Gender and sexuality, people always get those confused, okay? Sexuality and gender are not the same. They're not. Sexuality is sexuality, gender is gender. You can look like a full-blown, beautiful woman, identify as a guy, and be asexual, if that's what you want to be. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. Okay? You look like you're confused.
Oh, she was questioning, she wanted to know what asexual meant.
Asexual means you don't have sex. For whatever your reasons are, you don't have sex. Oh, by the way, this is an open Q&A. If you have a question at any time, please feel free to raise your hand. I'm more than happy to answer. Again, I've been transgender, no, not just transgender since I was about 16. I come from a Southern Baptist family, thereby I did not come out until basically Obama said I could. I am in my 30s. We're not going to talk about how old I am, but I am 30. My partner is 47. I'm rocking. But yeah, so I come from a Southern Baptist family, which I didn't think would be an issue because I'm also Native American. For those that understand Native Americans, I'm what they call a two-spirit. Two-spirits are very much held in on a pedestal, I guess you could say. They're praised as almost like a separate gender by themselves. But unfortunately, my dad is a good old boy from Georgia. And my mom does what my dad tells her, in some sense. My mom is from Fresno, California. Yes. Yeah, of all places. By the way, y'all have an interesting group of people that live in Fresno. Yeah. And Modesto, and Ceres, and all that area, which is where all my mom's family is. But no, so I come from that style of family, but when I was really young, I used to play with the little boys like a little girl would play with little boys. I was running around doing the love taps and stuff, right? When my dad caught me doing that, I was called fruit. I was called a fruit. My dad made a comment of, if you want to act like that, I'm going to put on a dress, or put a dress on you and call you bitch. Nothing worse than being told that by your dad when you were really, really young. So I learned really, really quick, I need to conform to the hyper-masculine side of everything, which I did. Being intersex, it was easy, because I also, although I've always had a normal level of hormones for a woman, I always had a hyper level of, what they call hyper level of hormones for a man. So my testosterone was always really high. I was one of those individuals that literally never had to work out. I was always naturally fit. I could eat junk food all day long and never gain a pound. It sucked. But I was very much a guy. If y'all come by my booth, I have a collage. And I was gonna make a PowerPoint so y'all can see all this, but I didn't get a chance because I was a guest at another show for a week straight last week. So I didn't have time. And being active duty, I don't have time to do anything. Plus I had to get this ready for all you. Hey, this should take like 5 days to make. But no, so if you come by my table, I have a collage of me dressed as the Punisher several years ago. He remembers when he used to look like the Punisher back in the day. He's in his phone now. But he remembers back when I used to look like Punisher. Yeah. It's actually how we met. I was dressed as Punisher when we first met. He took my photos. He doesn't care. He's got this on camera. He can watch it later. Sad but true. But I looked very, very masculine back then. Like, my features are a lot softer now, but I was very much the angular chin, very fit. I definitely pulled off a Frank Castle. I love the character, but I wasn't comfortable as the character, if that makes sense. I'm a Punisher fanatic. I even have this skull tattoo on my chest. Like, I'm a fanatic. I've had the honor of being able to meet Dolph Lundgren before. I've met Thomas Jane before. We're not going to talk about the guy that plays in Warzone, because he really couldn't act for shit. But yes, and like, I know Tim Bradstreet, I know all these other guys that, like, when I'm saying I'm a fanatic, I'm a fanatic. But that being said, I'm still not comfortable dressing as a character like that. I was too masculine, and it got to a point where it was too common for me to be that way because I got so used to acting. And you should never have to act like somebody else. Because you're never going to be happy. You think you are, You know, you can do that whole saying, like, you fake it till you make it, right? You can act like you're happy, but at the end of the day, this is how I tell everybody. So everybody close your eyes. We're gonna play a little experiment. This is how I'll imagine it for you. So just keep your eyes closed and imagine what your home is like right now. Like when you're at home, you're with your family, you're with your friends, and that's what makes you who you are. Now take that all away. If you were in a room by yourself with just your stuff, what you own, your clothes, are you happy? If you were by yourself, are you happy? That's the realization that a lot of people don't do. Are you happy? Or are you lonely? Are you opening your eyes? It's pretty scary though when you think about it like that. Are you happy or are you lonely? Most people are not happy. You have items, superficial items, that fill a hole, but ultimately at the end of the day, you're not happy. Because items, what, they wither away, they go away, they fade, they break, they go away, right? Well, what do? You go out, you buy one, you replace it. But that's temporary happiness. Are you really happy? That's the issues that a lot of people have. That's what this panel is about. I know this is a big, long intro, but that's the issues that people have in this community. Do you know? Come on in. In this community, we have like I was saying before, and this is all prefacing up to this, we have a huge LGBT community. I am happy to be an open transgender cosplayer because there are actually very few of us for a lot of reasons. It's hard to be open transgender because I have to worry about, are people going to accept me? I'm at the point where I always say I don't care because that's a way of just saying, you know, whatever, you brush it off. In the end of the day, yes you do. You care. You care if people like you. You care what people think of you, right? So I always say I don't care, but yes I do. So I have to deal with that issue. I have to deal with getting mispronounced all the time when I've already fought so hard on hormones to be me and kind of done go to the extremes at the beginning of cutting everybody out of your life and moving forward as a woman. Don't do that, by the way, because you kind of need those people. You don't think about it now, but you will later, because you have to always remember that you've been going through transition for a long time. If you're, for any of those that are actually thinking about it, the people that just find out, they are just now starting to go through transition with you. That's where I failed at the beginning of this, because I forgot that people that took it as a shock, it was a shock to them, it wasn't a shock to me. But again, these are people that had just found out. Like when I came out, it was the first time he found out. He didn't know. I never just came out. If you would have known me from when I was Dan as Punisher to where I am now is a night and day change. Again, I know how I feel. People that know me don't know how I feel. So you have to make sure you're patient with people. Be sure you're patient. So, but yes, that's one issue that we have in the community, being transgender. Other ones being, trying to be myself, is worrying about, I mean, this is getting the extreme, but worrying about if somebody wants to kill me. Because I have those issues. People don't like, the way I look at it is not that people are mad because I'm transgender. People don't like things that are different. That's the issue. And it's not even just in America, because if you look at other countries have the same issue. And it could just be transgender people, it could be cultural differences, cultural biases. That's why a lot of wars are being fought, because things are different. People don't like change. They like their stuff to stay the same, you know? That's the issues that we deal with. So, I know this is a long drawn out kind of thing, and I don't want to go too long without giving you all a chance to have questions. So I'm going to give you all a quick second to ask questions, and then we can go from there. Because I do these kind of panels strictly for you guys, for a purpose and time to ask questions, get to know me, or get knowledge based on what you don't know. So anybody have any questions? I know you came in a little bit late there. Anyway.
How has it been being trans in the military?
I'm blessed, actually. My command is very accepting. I'm actually one of the lucky ones because my officer in charge is actually the one that sent my treatment plan up. He signed off on it and pushed forward and constantly kept asking me if it was okay. When the tweets came out, this is how accepting my command is. My commander, my deputy commander, who is my 2-star civilian equivalent to an admiral, and my chief of staff, left the meeting with the Secretary of the Navy when the tweets came out to come make sure I was okay. I knew zero about the tweets until they told me. I was working, so I had shit I had to do. I don't go on Twitter or work, so I'm on Facebook, not Twitter. So, but yeah, I'm actually one of the lucky ones, but I do know those that have had issues. Other branches outside the Navy are a lot harder, Marines and Army especially, because you have to be, masculine. As it is, I mean, in the military, with even just regular women just coming in, you're in a masculine role, a masculine job, masculine this, a masculine everything. You gotta be masculine. I'm not about that. I'm me, and I'm happy to say that I can still, even though I'm transitioning, I can still pass in male standards. And that's more me to pat myself on the back and just shove it in everybody's face. At the end of the day, I don't think Trump's gonna be in the office much longer, so I'm just gonna wait until my next boss is in. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned something about transgender feeling lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Are you feeling lonely you're lonely for what you can't be, or lonely just as in lonely because you're not being accepted?
Actually, that's a two-sided sword. That's actually, the answer is both. Because, now I do have to tell my story because it will make it easier to understand. So I will tell you that a lot of gaps in my life have been filled by my partner. I'm a very blessed individual to have found the partner that I have now, who is bigender, older than me, has her shit together. I don't have to deal with a lot of drama. I mean, we still fight, but I don't deal with a lot of that. So like I said, I was going to take my glasses off before I start crying, before I start the story. And I know I'm going to cry, I always do. So like I said, I was born intersex, came up, found out when I was 16 what transgender was, and that I was intersex. I'm Native American, so I promised the chief of the tribe that I'm a part of, that I'm no longer a part of now because of this. But I came out to him and he said, basically, make sure you're sure. And I thought that was fair, because when you're young, you don't know. You're still learning yourself, okay? Fast forward, I did everything a man's supposed to do. I joined the military. I originally joined to be a SEAL. I went through BUDS, messed up my knee Thursday before Hell Week, so I never got to finish the program. Went to another job field, got married, had a son, but I still was not happy. There was something not right still, right? So I came to terms with it, and I was like, no, it's not a phase, it's something that's real. Okay, now how the fuck do I tell everybody else? Because now the issue is, I've been this hyper-masculine, macho, man, douchebag sometimes kind of person. How do I go from this to being who I know I am on the inside, that I act with all my other friends that kind of know me as somebody that's not so straight, somebody that's a little queer? Because those friend circles were very, very small. Because God forbid I go hang out with a bunch of people at Pride and then everybody goes, wait, thought you're straight. Oh yeah, by the way, about that. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. Especially in circles of people that I was with at the time. And like I said, I told you the story about my dad making a comment that he would put a dress on me and call me bitch. That wasn't the first time I heard stuff like that. I heard my mom and dad make comments in passing about, people being freaks, people being one thing or the other. Very, very, very prejudiced words, right? That's not a safe environment to come out in. So I had a loving family. I had a great raising. I mean, I wouldn't be who I am without my parents being who they were and helping me grow up and all that. But at the same time, there was a bit of something missing. So there's some loneliness even growing up. And it really, really sucked because I couldn't be me. Nothing worse than going on as somebody that you're never, that you know you're never going to want to be. You know, you're pursuing aspects of virtues of things that really don't identify who you are. And it's hard. You know, I always looked at myself as being a daddy's girl, but everybody else always saw me as being a mommy's boy. But that's not how I felt. I was a daddy's girl, but my dad scared the shit out of me. Because my dad is a 6'4" Native American. And deep, burly voice. I mean, my dad was a good old boy, like I said. He's a scary, scary man. And I used to see my dad have a temper. And all I ever wanted to do was just be the daddy's girl. I just wanted my dad to coddle me, hold me like my mom did. Which, I will tell you, my dad never told me he was proud of me until the day I got out of boot camp. And that was hard to hear. And it was even worse is that I saw myself as a daddy's girl. Me and my dad became best friends, to coming out to my mom and dad, to my dad now never talking to me ever again. So I went from having everything to having nothing. I was the king of the world and I had it all, to I want to be the queen of the world and I have shit. It literally is how that happened. I will say that in a lot of respect, there's a bit of truth that comes out of being honest with yourself. And not just for you specifically, but for the environment that you provide for yourself. Because you find, it's like an old song, you know, you find out who your friends are. And I tell you right now, I found out who my friends were, and I also found out who my real family was. And when I say family, I don't mean blood. Because I believe in two types of families. You have the family that you were born into. You can't choose your blood, but you can choose your family. That's something I've always believed. And I've slowly learned who those individuals were. And even in our own community, though, is also very segregated. Transgender individuals, or just trans in general, they are the bastard childs of the LGBT community in a lot of respect. They still butt heads with the lesbians and the bisexuals and the gays, more so the lesbians and the gays. More so the lesbians. I'm telling you, dyke lesbians.
Terrorists.
Terrorists, exactly. But no, it's a segregated community, so and it's hard because the trans community, even more so, is also segregated versus people that aren't so sensitive versus people that are just like, you know what, this is how shit is, you know? And then you have those individuals that are very hypersensitive, and pardon my expression, millennials. The millennial transgender individuals nowadays I've found to be very, very hypersensitive to a lot of things that they don't understand. Like they just assume that people are going to know their pronouns. I'm sorry, if your pronouns are them and they, don't assume. Nobody knows. If somebody calls you a her,